For tuning into another episode of Wisconsin Weather Experts. We have a lot of weather to cover today across the country, and then especially here locally. We are awaiting a chance for showers and thunderstorms, especially this evening, Lisa, and we have the possibility of severe weather here.
Yeah, it's very active, and I feel like a lot of areas of the country, even here, just aren't getting a break, whether it's the heat, the flooding, the rain, just doesn't matter what it is. There's so much happening right now, so hopefully we'll keep all you up to date. Again, whether you know someone across the country or even here locally.
Yeah, and so we are going to start out west, in the southwest to be more specific. Unfortunately, there's a new wildfire in northern Arizona that crews are battling. It's now burned 1,000 acres of land and is 0% contained at last check. There's pictures for you from one of our stations, one of our Fox stations down in Phoenix. Now, the fire started near the community of White Sage, which is about 15 miles southeast of Fredonia. The fire was believed to have been sparked by lightning during a thunderstorm on Wednesday. And unfortunately, this fast-moving fire has prompted evacuations near Jacobs Lake, if you are familiar with that area. And notably, as of last night, all visitors were asked to evacuate the north rim of the Grand Canyon immediately. Travel is also being impacted in that area too. Both directions of US Highway 89 are closed. Again, if you know that area or have loved ones in this area, make sure they're aware. People are urged to use az511.gov. So think of our what we check for road conditions. That's the Arizona version of that, or that app to navigate other routes. So this one, interesting because it's, although the fire is not burning in the Grand Canyon, that's obviously a tourist attraction and highly populated, I'm assuming even this time of year when it's very hot. So interesting that now they have to take precautions for that as well.
Yeah, we're going to have to watch that closely. And like you said, I mean, the North Rim, that is one of the viewing points of the Grand Canyon. And with a lot of people still on vacation with the kiddos before heading back to school, it is good that we're going to continue to give you those updates, especially as families may be out there soaking up some of the summer months prior to school starts. So not a good situation there, but we're going to take a look at a different situation. Mount Rainier in Washington has been experiencing a swarm of earthquakes since July 8th. Now, a swarm is defined as a grouping of earthquakes, usually, again, a cluster of them that happen together in the same space in a close target at the same time. Mount Rainier was experiencing about 26 of them per hour last week. And then it slowed down according to the USGS, but this is the largest swarm they've experienced since 2009. Seismologists continue to analyze data of the quakes. They are between 1.5 to 4 miles beneath the summit, making them too small to be felt near the surface, thankfully, or cause any damage. They believe the quakes are due to a circulation of fluids along a pre-existing fault line beneath the volcano. The last eruption was about 1,000 years ago. The swarms are not unusual for Mount Rainier, but while it is a beautiful national park to visit with snow-covered peaks, this is a reminder that Mount Rainier is still an active volcano. And I was trying to do a little more research on what seismologists think. You know, they don't have a crystal ball. They don't necessarily know what's going to happen, but there seems to be these patterns, right, where they have these swarms of earthquakes, not necessarily meaning it's going to lead to an eruption, but knowing that they're actually going down in the amount they're seeing is a good thing. If they were to ramp up again, then they might be a little more concerned with something that potentially could happen, but something we're continuing to track, because you don't think of volcanoes close to us in the States, but we have one in Washington.
We do. Wow, that's very fascinating and such a beautiful area of the country too. So something we will keep an eye on. And now, unfortunately, we do still have to cover the Texas floods. You know, a makeshift memorial is actually being constructed in Texas as we speak, honoring the victims of last week's flash flooding. Photos of those who died in the floods being adorned with candles and flowers on a fence in hill country. Grief-stricken locals, some who lost loved ones, are visiting the memorial as they come to terms with the disaster. At least 120 people have died during the 4th of July floods that hit central Texas. More than 170, though, are still missing.
I came to express my condolences to all of those that lost their family and friends. This is devastating. I've lived here for 30 years and never seen anything like this. It's so sad.
And now President Trump is expected to visit Camp Mystic this afternoon to tour the devastation along the Guadalupe River. He will be joined by the First Lady, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, and other state leaders to meet with grieving families as well as first responders.
It's just so sad to see that this continues and they're still missing so many people, whether that being children and adults. And it's just going to take a long time, not only for this community to recover, but again, they're in an area where they have all this debris that's flown down and they're trying to clean it out and still trying to find people. So the memorial wall is a great thing that they're doing there. But we're dealing with flooding, not just in Texas, New Mexico. Yeah. There was footage of houses being brought away with the waters there, and cleanup is continuing. After monsoon rains triggered a flash flood, killing 3 people. You can see the water quickly moving in, moving furniture, nearly filling this place to the ceiling. Crews are working to clear out all the debris from the home and streets. About 200 homes were either damaged or destroyed, and that number could go up as more damage assessments are done. Now, something that's really interesting about this video, especially as we're lapsing it, you're going to notice in a minute this white truck that has an X on it. Yeah. A lot of times, whether it's flooded areas or even areas that have been ripped through with a tornado, they actually go through and they mark buildings and they mark vehicles and things with different color X's to signify that they've been searched, that they no longer have a body in there or anyone that they're looking for. So if you ever see something like that, it's not because it's X marks a spot, we found someone per se, it's just that they've gone through and searched that area so that way if other crews are coming through, they don't search it again. So education lesson. But yeah, it's just devastating with all the flooding that we've been seeing within the past several weeks.
Yeah, and it's just eye-opening to how powerful water is in general. Even if it's just flooding, you know, flash flooding on a roadway, it does not take much for flood water to knock somebody over.
Yeah, and flooding is the second highest weather-related phenomena that unfortunately kills people. So we need to take it seriously in any situation. Again, whether it's just a little bit of water you may be thinking on a road or something like this where it just comes in a flash, hence the word flash flood, and, you know, devastates these communities in a larger way.
And unfortunately, we do have the chance for some flooding here locally. So let's dive into our regional forecast. We are watching some showers and thunderstorms in southwestern Wisconsin, and this is really just the beginning, I would say, of what will likely be a pretty active afternoon and evening, especially late afternoon, evening, as that's when we're expecting to see some of the stronger storm potential in our area. There are still some inconsistencies and some question marks, so nothing set in stone just yet. But here across southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois, everybody needs to be prepared for the possibility of some severe weather. So here locally, and we're going to focus in on a lot of southern Wisconsin in the moment. We will, of course, broaden the view here in just a bit. So far, so good here in southeast Wisconsin and the Milwaukee area. And notice these thunderstorms that originated in Illinois as they are reaching southwest and soon to be south central Wisconsin, they're weakening. So that is a good sign for us. That being said, we've seen some peaks of sunshine over the last couple of hours in southeast Wisconsin. I think more cloud cover than sun, which is good, but going forward today, if we do see any more sunshine, that could still bring in that potential for some stronger thunderstorms. But everything right now out west, you know, so far so good, but we are going to continue to watch everything track up towards the northeast and likely more development. There is a stationary boundary just south of us, and we're watching that very closely because there is the chance it lifts northward throughout the afternoon as a warm front. So it could be one of those situations where northern communities closing in on central Wisconsin are in the 70s today and cloudy, but towards the south we see some 80s because of that potential warm front. And we'll have to watch that warm sector if we see it here in southern Wisconsin for that greater threat of severe weather. Now also out towards the west really quickly, that front's going to move through Saturday, so that could still bring in a few thunderstorms as well. But for now, we more so are watching Iowa and what else is going to develop, because that's what will then move in our direction. So if there is any good news, it's the fact that we will have some good lead time as the day goes on, because the development is going to be out west in Iowa. This is new from the Storm Prediction Center, an enhanced risk added to parts of Illinois, Iowa, as well as northeastern Missouri. Here locally, we do have our southern communities, Interstate 94 and southward, you know, Milwaukee, Waukesha to Fort Atkinson, down towards the south under a slight risk. And that's more so for the potential of that frontal boundary to work its way northward. I think if it stays south, it'll help us out a little bit, but regardless, everybody, whether we see severe weather or not, will be dealing dealing with the potential of heavy rain and potential flooding. Now for Saturday, as that cold front rolls through, marginal risk for eastern parts of the state. A couple of those storms in the afternoon could be strong, but not as concerned as more so tonight. So here's a look at one of our high resolution models. So these update very frequently, every hour in fact. We have the chance to see some of these storms rolling on in, potentially between 5 and about 6 o'clock in our inland areas, though timing may still change as the day goes on. But notice how some of these look to be a bit on the stronger side. Certainly going to see some heavy rainfall through about 9 or 10 p.m. tonight. Then some lingering rain through the night, even up towards northern Wisconsin. And for Saturday, we'll likely see at least a few thunderstorms kind of making their own little line along the cold front, potentially moving through either midday or into the afternoon. It will all depend on how quickly that cold front makes its way on through. We are looking at the chance for some heavy rainfall. This is from the Weather Prediction Center, the heavy rainfall outlook. Notice how it's more so slight, Green Bay to Milwaukee and down to Chicago. So that is for the potential of some heavy rain. You know, it's not out of the question for some spots to see over 1-2 inches of rain, even in just one storm. We saw that yesterday in Madison. They picked up over 2 inches of rain with just one cell sitting over the area. I do expect these ones to move quicker than yesterday. So that's some good news there. But we already have flood watches too down south across Iowa and western Illinois. Some parts of northern Illinois yesterday, get this, picked up over 6 inches of rainfall because of some of the heavy rain that passed on through. So since I have you, let's just go through some of this. It's been a while since we've gone through some of the stats here. We talked earlier about how it doesn't take much of that strong water to knock a person down. 2 feet of moving water can float vehicles. 6 inches of moving water can knock a person down. So it's very important to never go into flood water, never drive into flood water. You never know how deep it's going to be, and your car will just get taken by the movement of that water. And just another reminder too, it's Friday. There's a lot going on tonight. If we do end up having some of that severe weather, just a reminder to have alerts on your phone in case something is issued. Have a way to receive those alerts. Quick check on temperatures going forward. We have lots of 80s still in the extended forecast, but early next week, we are going to heat up a little bit more with upper 80s and then dew points too. They're going to stay high the next couple of days with the fact that we have these storms rolling on in, and early next week, they will spike again.
Well, summertime's definitely here, and what that may mean in some areas of the country is a unique, fun weather phenomena that you could see in the sky. Well, not necessarily here in Milwaukee,
This
but
is really cool.
New York City is preparing for this fun phenomena, which will be today and tomorrow. It's called Manhattan Henge, inspired by the Stonehenge Monument in England. Manhattan Henge is when the sun aligns perfectly with the New York City street grid. Some of the best streets to watch include 34th, 42nd, and 57th, if you know those in New York City. On Friday at 8:20 p.m., the sun will appear in full just above the horizon, but on Saturday at 8:22 p.m. Eastern, the sun will appear partially obscured by the horizon framed by the city grid. This alignment occurs twice a year, once in late May or early June, and again in July. And I think you also mentioned, Stephanie, that somewhere not too far from here has this too. Chicago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, I've never seen it. Have you?
I haven't either.
It's going to be on the bucket list.
But I know that people flock to these areas
Yes.
on those days to see it. It's almost a bucket list type item. And I understand it's fascinating that can even happen.
I agree. I'm going to have to look of when Chicago has theirs because it's a little bit closer than New York, I think, if we're going to go.
A little easier to travel to, right? Let's take a live look outside real quick. We still have a lot to go over on this episode of Wisconsin Weather Experts. We're going to keep the rain theme in. Lisa's going to talk about what POP means, probability of precipitation.
Not the drink, right?
Not the drink. Pop, that would be nice, right? We'll be right back.
Well, welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts, exclusively right here on Fox Local, and thanks for joining us for another day. Now, we've been talking a lot, yes, about the current unfortunate events going on across the country, from fires to flooding to earthquakes, but we're going to make it a little lighter, if you know what I mean. Lighter in terms of balloons. Yes, this is going to be something that lawmakers have been looking into in Madison. They just proposed a new bill to limit balloon releases. This would limit releasing more than 10 Mylar balloons at any given event. Violations would result in a $500 fine if you did more than that. They say that releasing the balloons can negatively impact the environment, harm animals, and even hit power lines, causing outages. We Energies says that since 2020, more than 120,000 customers lost power because of outages caused by Mylar balloons hitting their power lines. The bill would not apply to balloons released indoors, weather balloons, or scientific balloons used. Of course, they usually do those in a very big open area where they're not going to hit any kind of electrical equipment. But it's nice to know that we're also trying to look at the environment, trying to protect animals too. If you ever wonder why our Look Who's 6 event background changed instead of balloons, it's again to go for protecting animals. So it's a good thing, and we'll see how that bill proposes forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Always got to keep on thinking. Okay, now switching gears a little bit. I mentioned before the break that Lisa has a great explanation as to what pop means. Not the soda, not the drink. I say soda at least, but percentage of precipitation. So sometimes when you look at various weather apps or websites, you'll see a 15% chance of rain or a 40% chance of rain. It probably doesn't mean what you think. Take a listen.
Well, there's a chance of rain in the forecast, and your weather app or online may say that there's a 40% chance of rain. But what does it actually mean? Well, the probability of precipitation, or POP as we call it, does not mean that 40% of the area will get rain. It also doesn't mean that it will rain 40% of the time. What it really means is that there's a 40% chance that any point in the forecast area will see rain during that specified time. Our forecast area is southeast Wisconsin, so it doesn't just cover one city like Milwaukee or Wauwatosa or one county, it covers an area as a whole. POP is the likelihood of getting at least 1/100th of an inch of rain. That's enough to cause a small puddle. In order to calculate the percentage, here's the equation we use. We use the certainty in rain, which is the C, times the coverage in rain, which is the A. Here's an example. If we are 80% sure that there's going to be rain in the forecast, but only 50% of the area is going to see it, we multiply those two and we get a 40% chance of rain. However, sometimes when we start to use these numbers and percents, it can get rather confusing. So let's break this down a little more. An isolated chance of a shower or storm is about 10 to 20%. A scattered shower or storm chances for a day is about 30 to 50%, and about 50% is what we consider to be widespread. To make it easier and simplify it for the weather here for Fox 6, we break that down into words instead of percents. So if there's an isolated chance, a 10 to 20% chance of showers or storms in the forecast, we use the word slight chance on our 6th day. If there's scattered chances, we use the word chance. And if there's widespread chances, we use the word likely. Now, yes, we may use these words in our forecast, but on our 6th day, we use slight chance, chance, and likely to more easily define the percentage that we could have in terms of rain, or rather than getting confused with the actual number itself. So hopefully that helps out and simplifies what POP means.
That is such beneficial information. Because even as our director just said in our ear, a lot of times, you know, we look at an app, or, well, not us, but people look at an app or a forecast, they see a small percentage of rain and they cancel plans.
Correct.
Or they see a high percentage of rain and they cancel plans, or vice versa. And it might not always mean what you think.
Exactly. And again, when you look at your app, it's not just for your town. It's not just for Milwaukee only. It's for our area as a whole. and our area is very large if you know anything about Southeast Wisconsin. So again, we'll probably post that, have some reminders up, but best thing to do is tune into your local experts.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to notify you of what's going on. The app's probably the least reliable in terms of that percent, but I would say the higher the percent, that might mean overall you have the higher chance of dealing with some showers and storms that day.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. That was very, very helpful. Okay, so moving on now, we're going to talk a little bit more about climate.
Yes, and climate is going to be something, of course, we talk about recently. As scientists say, intense rain is falling more frequently in many areas of the U.S. Climatologists say that flooding in Texas was most likely caused by warm, moist air left over from Tropical Storm Barry and Hurricane Flossie. I cannot pronounce that.
Yeah, Flossie.
Flossie. There we go. Experts say a warming atmosphere and oceans due to the burning of fossil fuels can make catastrophic storms more likely. The atmosphere can hold 7% more water for every 2 degrees Fahrenheit warmer it is. So something we talk about is, yes, warmer air can hold more moisture than cool air. When we have our cooler nights after it rains, we see fog. Cooler air can't hold as much moisture. So when we're tracking this, if our atmosphere is warmer, our oceans are warmer, everything can hold more moisture, which therefore then can not always, but can lead to some more torrential rain or higher amounts of rain in areas. So that's something we're going to continue to monitor for the upcoming years.
Exactly. And those high dew points too. You know, on days like today, we have these high tropical type dew points.
Correct.
That most of the time means very heavy rainfall. All right, let's take a quick break, quick live outside, a live look outside that is. We are going to talk about some of the events happening this weekend coming up. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts. We have a lot going on across the Milwaukee area. And one of those things you may have heard the past few days, it is the motorcycles. Yes, if you haven't heard them yet, you'll probably see them at some point. Tens of thousands of Harley-Davidson rides are in town for the weekend for their homecoming celebration. Riders come from across the country on their bikes to have food, listen to music, and the homecoming event is now annual. Activities span across the area from the museum headquarters, which I still got to go to, I hear it's great, to dealerships. Concerts are even taking place in Veterans Park. The events are happening as the company experienced a recent conflict behind the scene and now are searching for a new CEO. Harley-Davidson says they're focused on making good bikes. Riders say they want the company to have continued success.
We're still Harley-Davidson. We're all here still doing the same thing, trying to really bring this great brand to our great customers, our employees, our dealers.
Get someone that knows what an idea what this is all about.
Well, some of the big performers include Hank Williams Jr., who will headline at Veterans Park today. Chris Stapleton, he'll be another big act that will be performing on Saturday.
Yeah, two big evenings ahead. Now tonight, of course, we are watching for that thunderstorm potential.
Yes.
So just keep that in mind. Saturday should be a little better. We just have that chance for storms maybe midday and afternoon, but the evening looks a lot better.
I still think a lot of riders are going to be out there, rain or
Absolutely.
shine. But of course, with the storm chances lowered tomorrow and Sunday looking beautiful,
yes,
they're still going to have some good days to ride.
Exactly. Just make sure you have your weather app to give you all those alerts in case anything is issued. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Wisconsin Weather Experts. We will see you on Monday right here at noon.